Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the August 2024 of Real Mushrooms Facebook for Pets Live. I know I'm crooked. Is that what you're saying? I'm a little crooked. I'm feeling a little crooked today, Rob. I have to admit. My name is Joni Kamlet, and I'm the director of the Pet and Practitioner Departments. And I'm here with my colleague and fearless leader, Doc Rob Silver. Hey, Rob.
Hi there.
Hello. And yeah, today we're going to talk about a subject that's very that I just completed. Actually, I just went through a 6-day cross-country trip with my little dog, driving cross-country from Virginia to Northern California with my little dog Scruffy. And so, yeah, it's definitely a pertinent topic for me. Summer travel for pets. Luckily we made it. There were, a couple scary, did have a few moments, how to stop and actually run in and use the bathroom and leave your dog in the car, in the middle of the desert or something like that. But it all went well. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on summer travel for pets, Doc Silver.
Right. Well, and traveling with pets in general, no matter the season, it does take some preparation. We have to concern ourselves with properly restraining our pets, in the car, and they make seat belts now and those sorts of restraint devices. Certainly you could put them in carriers or cages, which aren't quite as secure. Some pets don't travel well, and have anxiety, and sometimes the anxiety causes nausea and vomiting. So, looking at things that can help with that. But the biggest issue with summertime travel, of course, is the heat, and the heat that the interior of the car can generate very quickly without much effort at all. But there are a few other things as well that I'd like to talk about. But to begin with, for myself, traveling with my own animal, Ollie, and Ollie loves the car. The car is like his. If I could bury, when he passes, I'd love to bury him in the truck. But that's not going to happen. That's going to need a front loader to bury my SUV.
What kind of dog parent are you not to bury Ollie in your car?
Yeah, but I have a hard and fast rule, which is I look at my weather app on the phone, as in terms of during the seasons, and I look to see if it's ever going to get to be 80 degrees that day. And I pulled up a chart here that was prepared by the AVMA, and I just wanted to tell you that if you're in an 80, if the outside temperature is 80 degrees and you're in the car in 10 minutes, that temperature will go to 99 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really quick. So don't think that just because the windows are open or you've parked the shade that you're in a safe situation, because you're really, really not. And so you need to be aware of that. I would say in the summertime, unless you have to travel with your pet, don't. It's much better that way. Yeah. So so making sure that they're not exposed to that kind of heat is very important. But in order to help them better adapt to heat, whether it's in the car or in the summertime, certainly keeping plenty of fresh water around. Dogs don't cool off with their skin, so they pant a lot. But you can spritz them down, and then they get that evaporative cooling as the water evaporates from their hair. Of course, then they're dripping all over your car, so that's a whole nother story, And then another issue with the summertime, and it's that if you're traveling to an area in the summertime where there may be some specific types of diseases present, then you might want to think about, talking to your veterinarian about some preventative, some protection, maybe a vaccination, maybe heartworm medicine. Here in Colorado, heartworm and fleas are very uncommon. We do have some heartworm in the summertime. Fleas, it's really very local and regional, oftentimes driven by squirrels. But if you're traveling someplace else in the country and you're going to be spending at least a week or two in an area where there's mosquitoes that are laden with the heartworm infection, then it might be smart to get that heartworm preventative on board. And you can actually start the heartworm preventative a month after exposure, and it still is protective. Now, we all don't like pharmaceuticals, and yes, there are dogs that do have side effects to heartworm, and I agree it's a problem, but the actual infection itself of the heartworm is so toxic and so difficult to treat that, in my opinion, as a veterinarian, sometimes we have to bite the bullet and do things that are a little bit not what we want to do in order to avoid something that's much bigger and much worse.
Yeah, especially if you're in a very heartworm prone area.
Like Virginia.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And not to mention all the ticks in Virginia, everything, like you're right about
tick-borne infections.
If they're visiting another area, if you're traveling and visiting another area for the various things, and you throw in like certain, if you're used to swimming with your dog in the lake, make sure that wherever you go, they're not having an algae issue in that part of the country. Stuff like that. Like you have to think ahead to if you're traveling out of state and somewhere you've not been before, and you're taking your pet, you got to do your homework around what are the potential challenges that you might encounter, camping in a lake that, maybe has like I said, I had this happen with a friend of mine, where she took her dogs to a lake and didn't realize they were having a bad algae problem. And she ended up, her dog didn't survive.
Yeah.
So it's
leptospirosis is another disease that you'll find with standing water like that, especially if there's cow pastures around, because cows tend to be a vector for that transmission.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you mentioned it's great that Ollie loves to travel in the car. My little dog Scruffy, she's good for short trips, but she does terrible on long trips. And I had a lot of anxiety about driving her for 6 days in the car.
Sure.
Although the idea of flying with her, she was unwilling to get it.
Yeah.
When the chances came down, I was like, okay, we're going to bite the bullet. So I have to figure out ways to calm on the trip. And I have to say, taking her for a really, really long walk before we started, which was hard sometimes because I wanted to get on the road first thing in the morning and drive for as long as I could. But I found if I tiring her out with a nice, satisfying walk, helped her anxiety levels before we, started the drive, but also the relaxed chews. And then also I just have to give a shout out to your CBD mushroom chews, Doc Silver, that were really what made the difference for Scruffy, was using your specifically formulated products.
Thank you. Yeah, and those contain not just CBD, but they contain CBG. And I attended a webinar last week on CBG, and there's a lot more research now in it than when I originally created it. And all that research is pointing out how stellar CBG is as a calming agent.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Made a big difference. And she was also willing to eat, because there were sometimes she was resistant. It was important that I gave them to her before we got in the car, because she would get
cars.
Her problem was she never threw up, but she'd get kind of shaky and drooly and just seemed so uncomfortable.
Right.
So I would have to give them to her with her meal or right after her meal before we, after we did our walk, I'd feed her, then put her in the car. So, and it made it, we made it here. And actually by the end of the trip, she seemed to be enjoying herself. It was surprising how much she calmed down. So, what on earth?
And for those of you who don't have access to mushrooms readily before you're traveling, or CBD, there are pharmaceuticals that you can use. And an over-the-counter pharmaceutical that's relatively safe and can be helpful is Benadryl. Very common, very much available. Benadryl, when it gets broken down into that molecule. It's called Dramamine. So it has both a settling effect and also an anti-nausea effect. I mean, I'd rather see you using supplements, but if push comes to shove and you need something, that's
Right.
something most people have on their shelf, And
Absolutely.
it's about 1 milligram per pound. So, a standard 25 milligram capsule would be good for about a 25-pound dog.
Yeah. Yep. And I know we've gotten some questions about travel. Before that, I do want to answer. I see a question from Sherilyn in the chat about becoming a retailer with us. Sherilyn, feel free to reach out to us. Reach out to me, Joni, Joni, at realmushrooms.com. Send me an email and we'll see what we can do for you.
Cool.
Oh, and thank you, Jordan. Our special thanks to Jordan behind the scenes, our customer service manager. To anybody that's listening to this live, we're offering 25% site-wide on all of our products, not just our pet products. For those that are listening to this Facebook Live, and it's four-legged traveler. I was joking to Jordan that you have to. It'll be a challenge to spell traveler, at least for me. So you can copy paste off the link, or maybe you're a good speller. So what's our first question? Oh, and thanks, Jordan. Rob, we've got a disclaimer.
So remember tonight, I'll be answering your questions, but I can't really give you medical advice. What I'm really giving you is more educational advice, because I don't have a legitimate doctor-patient relationship, which we can only achieve if I have your pet in my hands and I can listen to the heart and take a temperature and observe them. With humans, there's a lot more telemedicine that goes on, because humans can talk and can tell, oh, doc, it hurts right here. Oh, doc, I only get nauseous when I'm doing this or that. With our pets, it's not as easy. So, but I'll do my best to help you with your questions.
A generalized answers. Yeah. Yeah. So, great question. Does Ollie, so you answered that, but do you want to elaborate?
Well, he likes it so much that some mornings after I take him for his walk, and he still wants to do more stuff, and I've got to descend into my basement dungeon to go back to work. I'll open the garage door and open the back gate of my Toyota, Highlander SUV, and then he just likes to spend the whole morning inside the truck in the garage with the back gate open, because that's where he belongs.
I love it. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So Ollie does like the car, and I think this idea of you can always get a new car. Rob,
you should see how much white. I mean, he's a white dog. You should see how much, and the interior is black. It looks like the dog is growing hair.
He deserves it to be his final resting place, which hopefully is 20 years from now, right?
Yeah, well, he's 10. That would be nice.
Yeah. Just before we take this question, I see Victoria asking the name of this your product that we were talking about, the CBG product. Jordan, might you be able to drop that in the chat for Victoria? The name of what I think it was the Rehab Helpers. Actually, I was giving Scruffy.
Right, and I've actually run into a little bit of a glitch with production, and so we're currently back ordered on the larger size chews, which are 3 times the size of the Rehab Helpers, but we still have quite a few of the Rehab Helpers. Yeah. So I would so I maybe just put the Well Pet Dispensary website and then just write Rehab Helpers, and there's a nice search bar at the top and you can search for it. And I apologize for being behind in my production on this. There were a lot of glitches that happened that were just beyond my control, but I've got that. I've got the order in for them to produce it, but it takes time for that to happen.
Yep. We understand the glitches in production. That's for sure.
But it's important to note that the combination of the CBD and CBG with the relaxed chews is even more potent than just the CBD and mushroom chews alone, because the relaxed chews, I put some other calming herbs in there, and I also put tryptophan and theanine, which is what gives green tea its zen. So you're going to get a much more profound response with the relaxed chews. And if you have CBD at home of your own, or you have some for your pet, you can use that CBD that you already have with the relaxed chews, and then you don't need to necessarily spend money on my website. Although you wouldn't mind if you did, but it's nonetheless, I'm out to make life better for you and to save you money if I can.
And the relaxed chews work great for Scruffy, and I do that. I actually take your Silver Dog CBD,
Yes.
and I put some on their I coat the relaxed chew with it and give it to Scruffy sometimes as well.
They work well. We've used them for dogs that were flying as well, and found good response with that combination. So it's good.
Absolutely. So here's a good question. Do you have any tips for getting a 130-pound dog into an SUV when they won't use the stairs or a ramp? That's a tough one.
Ollie is 80 pounds, okay, and it'd be nice if he lived to 20, but he's got he was a rescue dog, and he had really bad injuries to his back hindquarters, and so I don't know that he's going to be able to be mobile long enough to last that long.
Yeah.
But I got him a ramp. He's frightened to death of the ramp because he's got this PTSD from his early rescue stuff. So then I found a really great set of stairs that they fold out. They've got like AstroTurf on them, so it's nice and solid.
Yeah.
They're wide, and there were enough of them that it wasn't a very steep incline.
Yeah.
And I have tried to get him to use the stairs too. So no, I don't have a solution. I was thinking about building a wooden box that would just kind of give him a step up that he could do, that would then give him one step that he could then make it into the back better. But your question does point out a very big problem. I've even considered buying a new vehicle that's lower to the ground. Like if I got, a Subaru Outback like I used to have, that's not that far off the ground, but a Highlander SUV, that's a bit of a jump for him.
Yeah. So, and I have a little bit of experience with this from doing rehab for so many years, because we would have, 8 to 12 dogs coming a day for, their appointments. Many of them were large, many of them were older, some of them were recovering from surgeries, and we would have to get them in and out of, whatever car they came in. And so what I found to be helpful, and unfortunately it's not a simple fix, there's so many different varieties of ramps. You might have to try out different ones, one that's maybe very, very wide so they feel a little bit safer, and then working with very, very high value treats. We had situations where we were able to get the dog to use the ramps, but it took a long time, and it took just getting them to first take a step on the ramp, and then they get this reward, and then they take 2 steps. And, if they're food motivated, that can be a helpful way to do it. But also, Rob, I love your idea of building some sort of wide step that's like halfway, and then you can
just kind of a box. Yeah.
If you can physically kind of push them up into the car too.
Yeah. Ollie's PTSD is so bad that even when I give him the relaxed chew treat, he won't take it. I have to put it down and then kind of walk away like I'm not interested in him taking it. Like, I don't care. You want it, you don't want it, whatever you want. And then he'll take it. Because I put his Medicam in that every morning.
Yeah, and he knows something's in there.
Well, actually, I give him 4 treats, and I only put the Medicam in one, and then I mix them up and put them all in front of them, and then I put some different treats there too, so he doesn't get so focused on me maybe trying to poison him.
Funny, the things we do for all the mind games we play with our pets. I mean, we love them and we want to help them. We're trying to do right by them. But
I just wonder what the heck happened to this guy so early in life that just really destroyed him. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Well, he was lucky to have found his way to you. That's for sure.
And I was lucky to find him.
Yeah. So I wish we had a better fix for that, getting in the car, but different ramps, food motivation, Yeah. Here's another one. My dog throws up no matter how short the car drive, even if I withhold food before we go. Is there something I can give him?
Maybe. First of all, you need, there are certain cues that you do before you travel. Get your keys, jacket, put your shoes on, whatever. Ollie knows, he knows when I'm just, getting ready to go down to the basement to work versus going out to the garage. Um, and so you need to give them something long enough before you get started with all that anxiety-based activity that's going to stimulate the anxiety. And so that would be, maybe an hour to 30 minutes before you're leaving. I would, and before you do any kind of preparations, I would give him something for that. Maybe one of the relaxed chews, or a CBD, or the combination of the two. But also the vomiting part can oftentimes be due to nerves, but it can also just be due to motion sickness. And so there's good studies that show that ginger root, powdered dry ginger root, just like you have on your shelf if you use it for cooking, given long enough before you get nausea, can help with that. And it helps with car sickness. Ginger root can even help with morning sickness, given early enough. Now, of course, with pregnancy, I don't want to recommend really too many things, but ginger is part of, is we use a lot of ginger in our food too. So I would say, look at giving it early. Look at some ginger root. You can probably buy it in capsules, which doesn't have a taste, or maybe your animal would like it. You can even take raw ginger root and you can grate it and put like a teaspoon in a 6-ounce, and steep it in a 6-ounce cup of hot water for about 10 minutes, and then strain it. And you could mix that. You could syringe that into his mouth, or mix it with some tasty food. Of course, we don't want to give too much food, because if that does make them nauseous, then it also makes a mess in your car. But that's what I would suggest trying. Now, I also mentioned the Dramamine or the Benadryl, and you might want to give that a try as well. It's used occasionally, once or twice. It's safe to use.
Yeah. It's also, it's very calming.
Yeah.
So the next
also anti-nausea.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next question, my cat was just diagnosed with diabetes. What's the best stress-free travel advice you have for him? He tends to hide from strangers, so leaving him behind may lead to missed insulin doses.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, I think cats, unless he's already adapted to traveling in the car, and there are a few cats out there that actually are good travelers, most aren't, then they really seem to be most comfortable in a car if they're in a fairly enclosed space.
Yeah.
So cat carriers that are smaller actually tend to give them more of a sense of comfort, as compared to a large cage, large carrier. And of course, if you were unfortunately to get into an accident, or were to stop suddenly, a small cat in a large carrier could also be a source of some injury. Whereas in a smaller carrier, there's actually going to be less of that counter coup type of banging around in there. But I think you're right. You should travel with your cat because of the stress that he has. The stress may also actually affect his need for insulin. So I think that's a good thing. And I don't know if you are doing any measurements, of his blood sugar, but those are very helpful in terms of helping to keep him better regulated.
Yeah. Another thing I would suggest, I'm not sure how soon you're traveling, but like if you're not traveling for a month, maybe do some things where you just put the cat in the carrier in the car when you're not driving, and if your cat's treat motivated or catnip motivated, something where the cat starts associating the car and the carrier with something positive, or at least not stressful. And then maybe go for a drive for a block, and then work up to drive for a mile, so that the cat gets more used to being in the car and the car moving before you actually take a longer trip.
And some cats will respond well to a CBD type of a tincture.
Yep.
And the best way to get CBD into a cat is to mix it with some food. That really absorbs the best anyway. You're not trying to squirt it in their mouth. That's not as good as mixed with food. And our relaxed chews have catnip in them.
They do.
And there are a number of cats that will like them, and they have the catnip, but they've got the tryptophan and they've got the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And both CBD and mushrooms, you may not know, have a beneficial effect on diabetes. They help the body to better regulate glucose.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad idea to see if you can get your cat interested in either or both of those
Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah.
If not, travel notwithstanding, just in terms of helping to better regulate the insulin. Fish oil can also be very helpful that way.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I saw, oh yeah, there you go. You saw, Jordan, you're reading my mind. I was thinking we should answer that question about the mushroom blend for cats that we mentioned a few months ago. It's still coming.
I know.
It's not ready yet. It's like watching,
I'm so frustrated.
it's very frustrating. Yeah. Sometimes perfection takes time, and, getting the right ingredients, and everything's all together. It's just a matter of, now it's, we're at the mercy of the
manufacturers.
manufacturer. Yeah. We're in line. We're in the queue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And there's a huge number of companies that are doing the same thing. The market for pet supplements has really been growing markedly, and so that's also put a little bit of a kibosh on getting things done timely. Is there's a line that we have to get in before they can start production for us.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating. We've got what, 4 or 5 new formulas in the pipeline, and we just want to see them out there.
Yeah.
And and it's like, but you got to do it right, or don't do it at all.
Exactly. So it's coming.
Yeah.
It is still coming. It's like, it's almost reality.
Mm-hmm.
So soon. Next question. What can I give my senior dog who has bad arthritis? I do give him 5 Defenders, but he gets very sore and whines with pain sometimes.
Yeah, arthritis is not fun. I suffer from that myself.
Yeah.
There are supplements that can help. Mushrooms will be helpful, but especially when you have arthritis as bad as that, it needs to be what we call a multimodal program. You need to use multiple agents that are going to help. And it may be, if your dog has arthritis this bad and its kidneys and liver are still reasonably healthy, that pharmaceuticals might be the best solution. Now I wouldn't use a pharmaceutical alone. And with Ollie, I give him a pharmaceutical NSAID pain reliever called Metacam, and I maybe give it him 5 days a week, and I give him a couple of days off, and I give him the right dosage. But he also gets injections every couple of weeks of a glucosamine type of a compound called Adequan, which goes right to the joints and really helps a lot. He also gets CBD and CBG. He gets glucosamine. He gets Boswellia. There's PEA that he gets. There's so many different supplements that can be helpful. Plus, as Joni, I'm sure, wants to tell you, the rehab, where we have a variety of different physical therapy exercises.
Therapy, chiropractic.
Incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe an underwater treadmill, those sorts of things. We've got devices now. I've got terrible, where's my hand? I've got terrible arthritis in my fingers. It's awful. I couldn't practice as a veterinarian now if I really wanted to, because my hands don't work. So I use a laser on my hands. I use something called an assisi loop, which generates this electromagnetic force that takes away the pain. I mean, these are all things, and these are actually all veterinary things I took with me from my practice to use for myself. So there's a number of things that can be done for arthritis. Weight loss. Big thing. Maybe your dog's a little bit overweight. As they get older, we tend to kind of coddle them a bit more and let them eat a little more, and the weight gain can kind of sneak up. And boy, that poundage can really, those forces of gravity can really increase that pain substantially. That happened with Ollie. When our other dog Violet was in the process of passing away and she stopped eating her food, Ollie volunteered to eat her food, and he wound up being about 90 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
Ideal, he should be 75.
Yeah.
And so I almost starved him, in terms of what I gave him. I gave him 50% of his caloric requirement for 6 months to get that weight off of him. And I got him down to 65 pounds, and he was lighter on his feet, literally.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things you can do, and mushrooms are good, but they're not enough.
Yeah. And if I could add a few things to Doc Rob's wonderful list of suggestions, something as simple as bone broth, that you can make yourself and add to the food. It's full of collagen and minerals and can be very supportive for the joints. And it's an inexpensive, there's tons of recipes for bone broth online, whether it's chicken or beef bone broth. You can even buy it. Like I buy my bone, when I don't have time to make it, Trader Joe's has organic chicken bone broth. And so I mix that in Scruffy's food a couple times a week. You mentioned the boswellia. I love boswellia for joint pain. Turmeric also excellent for joint pain. And I'll just throw out, before I worked for Real Mushrooms, I worked for a company called Standard Process. And I have not found much better than a product called Ligaplex 2, which is part of their what's called human supplement line. I think you can now buy this product probably on Amazon, but Ligaplex 2 is a game changer for dogs. We used it a ton in rehab. I'm using it for Scruffy right now. She's got a little hitch in her giddy up, as we say, with her when she goes on long walks. She gets a little lame when she's over 12 years old, and I find that I give her Ligaplex for a little while, and it seems to be very effective. So yeah. Next question from Brooklyn. My 8-year-old cat has just completed 3 days of stereotactic radiation therapy for recurring malignant melanoma. I was told not to give him 5 defenders, but not told why. Huh.
Well, your radiology, your radiation oncologist is concerned that the antioxidant nature of 5 defenders will defeat the oxidizing nature of the radiation therapy. But and I would follow their instructions. I'm not going to tell you to do something that your vet, that the vet who's trying to treat the cancer, and it's not a good cancer either, by the way. So my suggestion would be to wait a week after the radiation, after the end of the radiation therapy. And then you can start the 5 defenders back. I would use it at a fairly low dosage to begin with, and then maybe in a month you can start to ramp it up to help protect or prevent the body from the reoccurrence of that melanoma.
Yeah, and we wish you the best with your cat.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer's dramatic pause. Hey, Jennifer says, I just started watching. I'm sorry if you've already covered this. What is the best mushroom for a 4-year-old American Bulldog Boxer mix with mast cell tumor?
We didn't cover it. We've been talking about traveling in the summer with your pet, and we have covered it in previous talks. But because mast cells are involved in the allergy response, in terms of the histamine response, and because they contain bundles of histamine in them, and when they rupture, they release the histamine, and it causes some of the side effects that we see with mast cell tumors. There are 2 mushrooms, both of which we contain in the 5 defenders, which is our 5 mushroom blend. One is called reishi, and the other is called chaga. And both of these mushrooms contain these types of molecules that are hydrocarbons called triterpenes. And these triterpenes are known to help stabilize that mast cell membrane to reduce its release of the histamine, thereby reducing some of the side effects of the tumor. Plus, both of these mushrooms and the other 3 mushrooms in the 5 defenders also contain beta-glucans and other molecules that will help your pet's immune system better deal with this mast cell tumor.
Yeah.
5 defenders.
Great suggestion. Yeah, we hope that works out, Jennifer. Natural remedies and mushroom dosing for car travel? ? Well, we kind of covered it, but
we can repeat it though, I think.
The relaxed chews.
Relaxed chews are great, and we dose them at
reishi and lion's mane, or the mushroom. If you want
the straight lion's mane would be good. Yeah. And dosing for the relaxed chews is on the container, but it's basically 1 chew for every 20 to 40 pounds. I always suggest starting at the lower dosage, which is 1 per 40 pounds, and because oftentimes you can get a good response even with that low dosage. It's more cost effective, and if it's not, then you can safely bump it up. You can probably even safely bump it up beyond 1 chew per 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Lion's mane also good, and then we mentioned about CBD. We mentioned about things like tryptophan, things that are calming herbs like catnip or valerian that are also in the relaxed chews. Those can all be very helpful. Ginger root, that can be very helpful with the nausea associated with travel.
Right. Hope that helps. My dog takes 5 defenders and green lip mussel. I'm thinking that's what GLM is. My vet has recommended standard processed thyroid support. Do I need to change the mushroom blend since I'll be doubling up on 2 of them and also the green lip mussel?
I don't quite understand the question.
Um,
And I think
GLM is
I got this question before through email or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know the 5 defense. Like, there's nothing in the standard processed thyroid support that doubles up.
That's a mushroom.
The mushroom, or even unless GLM means something else. But
GLM is green lip mussel.
Yeah. So sorry if you're on the call and can give us a little more information, but I will say, I mean, I know what's in the standard processed thyroid support. It's basically just whole food with some thyroid glandular in it. So there shouldn't be any problem when combining them, right, Doc Rob?
No, there shouldn't be any problem at all. That's why I don't quite understand the question.
Yeah. Sorry, we don't understand. This is Brooklyn, who the cat with the melanoma. She says, or they say, I'm considering the melanoma vaccine. I'm going to discuss with the oncologist. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's worthwhile. I've heard some very good things about it. With any type of treatment, there's always, nothing's perfect, and there, can be side effects to it. It might be, though, that with the radiation treatment that you've gone past the point where they would be willing to do the vaccination. I'm not as up on the melanoma vaccine as perhaps I should be for this question.
Yeah. And if I could just go off on a little bit of a tangent for a minute, because I always appreciate, and it comes up often in these lives, Doc Rob, I appreciate that you're not afraid to support Western medicine or throw it out, whether it's heartworm, whether it's doing heartworm or this or that. I think, and the reason that I'm mentioning this is because I notice very often there's a trend on the holistic pet side of things to be very black and white, like, this is wrong. Like, you can't do anything Western. You have to stick to holistic or whatever. And I think that we're often doing a disservice to our pets when we do that. I totally understand. When I first started out in holistic, and before I got into rehab, I was like, oh, all these drugs are bad. They're like, I would never give Rimadyl to my pet, for instance, and then when I got in rehab and I saw dogs who were suffering, who had relief from pain from the Rimadyl, and then we were able to, like, slowly maybe transition them to something more natural. I just love that you consider all the tools in the toolbox. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. I mean, I am a veterinarian, and I really do like practicing conventional medicine, but I also like having all of the tools available to mitigate the side effects that we can find with conventional medicine, or to increase the value of conventional medicine because the neat thing about holistic medicine or integrative medicine is what it really does is it helps the body to heal itself, and it helps to support the organs in that process. Much of conventional medicine deals with, the suffering, deals with relieving suffering, which I think is very important, especially for patients that can't talk to you and can't feed themselves. I mean, that's the whole thing about pet food. We're totally in control of our pets, and we have to be aware of how we can best create positive health for them.
Yeah, I think so, because like part of my, in the job I'm in, I spend more time than I would like sometimes on Facebook and in some of these holistic pet health groups, and sometimes I'll see somebody where the pet clearly needs an antibiotic temporarily, and everyone's saying, "Don't do it. You're going to kill your dog," or this or that, and it's like, well. And you, Doc Rob, you've been doing integrative medicine for what, 40 years or, for a long time, and conventional. And so I love that, I think when you're in the industry this long, you kind of see the middle ground makes a lot more sense.
And I'd like to say something about medicine in general, which is that, medicine isn't just about understanding the biology or the nature of the disease. It's not necessarily just knowing how the drugs work or how to use them. It's also spending years seeing patients with these problems and trying to figure out what they have, and then trying to give them something that'll help them, and then watching whether it helps or not and learning from that. And I think that's something that an experienced practitioner brings, which cannot be found in a book. It cannot be found on the internet. It can't even be found, in classes. It's really something that's a personal experience. And I draw on those many years of practice, and I've seen the same things. They suffer. You don't want them, above all, don't let
Do
them
no harm. Above all, do no harm. Yeah.
and don't let them suffer. Don't let them suffer.
Yeah.
What I was
Yeah.
saying.
Don't let them suffer. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's right. The vet credo is, above all, do no harm. But yeah. And so just, and of course, and then we'll move back into mushrooms, but wanted to get on my soapbox a little bit, because I'm just seeing more and more of this. And I love that in this talk that we have once a month, we're not afraid to throw out things that might be a little controversial. It's not to say that people that are just learning about raw feeding or pet health and looking at integrative approaches, there is an enthusiasm about it, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, great stuff.
Go for it. It's like there's so many, to be able to take a pet off of maybe a medication that over the long term might be causing some harm and transitioning them to something more natural. Great, go for it. Love that. But let's get the pain under control. Let's get the infection under control, etc.
Well, I take being a veterinarian very seriously, and I take relieving suffering very seriously, and so I'm not afraid to speak out, because I'm an advocate for the animal's well-being, and a good advocate, and so I'm just talking about what is going to help them, and certainly we start talking about all the supplements, but oftentimes underlying, you just have to go to some conventional stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's talk some mushrooms. Okay. Bridget says, my 80-pound male Doberman had 7 teeth extracted. He is almost 10 years old. I give him 5 defenders. Is there anything else to give him support, to support his healing practice? Wow.
Well, we do have a couple of mushrooms that might help with that. Lion's mane is one.
Shiitake too.
Say what?
Shiitake.
Oh, and shiitake. Oh, for
dental health. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there was a study about shiitake being used for periodontal disease, right? Exactly.
Yep. Exactly.
And, I thought she was asking about the healing process, though, but yeah.
Yeah. I just got excited about dental and shiitake.
And Mason just sent me a study today, I don't know if you saw it, in which they actually used shiitake with a bunch of these other arthritis supplements like Boswellia, and studied its value in treating arthritis in dogs.
Oh, that's exciting. I saw the study. I haven't had a chance to open it up.
There were a lot of supplements in there in addition to the shiitake. I was hoping it was going to be just shiitake, because we're still trying to find that study that shows that you can use a mushroom alone to treat arthritis, which we haven't really found that one yet.
Exactly. Awesome. So yeah, I hope that helps, Bridget. Claire says, I'm about to start heartworm treatment on a large dog. He's a little over a year old, high energy, with plan to sedate him during the 2 months. Not a fan of that, but otherwise might be hard to keep him calm. Do you have any recommendations for either during or after the toxic drug treatment? I noted the calming recommendations for travel. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's, it's the disease is yucky. The treatment's not so great either, but you don't want to stay with the disease.
Right.
I think the recommendations, Claire, that we've made so far regarding travel, I think would be helpful. And it may be that you're not going to need as high a dosage of whatever they're giving you. And my guess would be something like gabapentin, which is fairly benign and does a good job of sedating without, being toxic or anything. And GABA can work very well with CBD. The CBG, in fact, in my tinctures actually signals the GABA receptor in the body, so it works through some similar pathways. So, yeah, I think you've got the right mindset for this,
Yeah.
and I would continue to give him mushrooms, though. I think the value of the mushrooms, the antioxidant properties, the immune properties, all of those would be good, and probably the Five Defenders would be a great place to go
Yeah,
with that.
absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a long 2 months with an energetic dog, but it'll be worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, will Doc Rob be bringing his book to the Chicago event next month? Well, thank you for Pam for not only bringing up
I'm
the
praying.
Chicago event, but Doc Rob's book. So let's start with the event. So Chicago area people, Doc Rob is going to be speaking at a live event in Chicago on Sunday, September
Sunday,
8th.
yeah. Mhm.
In conjunction with Dr. Ruth Roberts and her, she's doing something with her pet health coaches. Dr. Odette Suter will also be speaking. Amy Renz from Goodness Gracious will be speaking. There's going to be some dog trainers. It's going to be a pretty exciting event. And maybe
I'm trying so hard.
Jordan, I don't know if you have access to finding the link for that. But we should have thought of this beforehand. I don't know if you can pull it up on the maybe Britta, who's back there too. You might be able to direct Jordan where to find it. But anyway, Doc Rob speaking, and tickets are like only $29. I encourage everybody who is in the Chicago area to go, and Doc Rob might have something special with him, right?
Oh, I am so frustrated with this as well. We're just the last piece is the finishing the cover art. Haley said she'd have it for me today. I didn't get it today. I'm hopeful to get it tomorrow. Once we get it, then we're going to send it into Kindle, and we'll get the proofs back, and then hopefully we can get into production and have it be available for sale on Amazon. And I really wanted to be there for that event, but it's out of my
It's
hands.
touch and go. We've got a couple. We've got a lot of. We're moving into conference season. We're going to be at AHVMA, the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association annual meeting. We're going to be at the Feed Reel event, which is an exciting event.
We'll be everywhere.
Diego. We're going to be at Dr. Judy's International Pet Event in down in Florida in September. We're going to be Doc Rob's going to be at an event in Northern Virginia with Miss Kibbles, Claudia Montoya. So we're really hoping, and just to fill in, so Rob's written a book and it's coming out. That's what we're talking about. It's called There's a Mushroom for That. And I have gotten a sneak peek at it, and it's amazing. And he's got some pretty heavy duty folks in the vet industry that are endorsing the book, that have read the book and just think it's as good as, it's amazing. So it's really going to be the answer for pet parents. It's an easy to read and use book with some real logical and practical tips. But it also, if you're interested in going kind of deeper into the science, Rob also goes there too. He's managed to kind of find the perfect combination of science and practicality.
Well, it's story based, and I tell stories of patients that I've seen, and I think there's 7 or 8 stories. I keep losing count. We're covering arthritis, we're covering allergies, we're covering anxiety, we're covering bowel disease, we're covering cancer, we're covering epilepsy, and then we're covering wellness.
Yes.
And I've got a story for each of them. I actually have two stories for anxiety because cat anxiety is a little different than dog anxiety.
Yeah. And then you also cover the individual mushrooms as well.
And
And
there's a materia medica in there, so I go through each of the mushrooms, and I've got lots of detailed information about them, probably more details than you'll ever need. And then I've got practical protocols with dosages and recommendations. So it should be good. I tried to write it so that it would be kind of a lot of different things. It would be, useful as a DIY type of a manual for pet parents. It would be good, an entry level book for veterinarians to kind of get started learning about this field. And it would be good for all those citizen scientists out there who are so interested in learning more about the science, because there's that in it. So
absolutely. And you covered, do you have a chapter on CBD in there as well?
Well, I have CBD included everywhere in it. Okay. Originally, I started writing the book just about CBD. I wanted to upgrade my 2015 book, but then mushrooms came in like gangbusters. And so I made it primarily about mushrooms. And then I have CBD and all that information in there. I even have a piece in there about how to get your dog, how to give your dog THC if you live in a state where that's legal, in a way that doesn't send them right to the ER, which oftentimes dogs are very sensitive to THC. But I think because there's so many people living in states where THC is available, they need to know about how to use it effectively for things such as pain in dogs. But you have to take it really carefully.
Right. Awesome. Well, I can't wait. I mean, it's like between your book and the cat product and everything, I feel like we've just
hurry up and wait.
Waiting.
Hurry up and wait. Yeah.
Well, say a watched pot never boils. That's what my mom used to tell me all the time. We've been watching these pots.
Well, it's wrong though. They do boil. I have watched them, and they will boil.
They eventually boil.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But thank you, Pam, for that question and for letting us spout about all this stuff.
Thank you. Are you going to be there at the Chicago event, Pam? We hope so.
Mm-hmm. It's about, anyway.
So the next question, Aloha, what mushrooms would you recommend for possible lymphoma or a mass on the neck over the right lymph node in a golden retriever?
Well, we generally recommend the 5 defenders because it has 5 great mushrooms that have all been found to be potent for cancer. Whether they would be effective for what is affecting your golden retriever, I don't know, but it's certainly a good place to start. And hopefully you're getting biopsies and you're going to learn more what it is, so you can learn what the best way is to approach it or what its behavior will be, so you know what to anticipate. But I would definitely look at the 5 defenders, and with a golden retriever, I would want to give a fairly high dosage, starting fairly low, maybe at 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon twice daily, working your way up to a full teaspoon twice daily. Or if he won't take the powder, then you could look at capsules, and there's about one capsule is about a 1/4 of a teaspoon. So that would be about 4 capsules twice daily, or a teaspoon twice daily.
Yep.
For your average size golden retriever.
Yeah. We wish you a good outcome with that. Oh, and Pam says she's coming. When she heard you were going to be there, she's coming up from Indiana. So.
Okay, well, introduce yourself.
Definitely introduce yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be there, sadly, but Rob will be there with Britta, who you guys are meeting soon.
I like Chicago. I haven't been back there in a couple of years, but I'm looking forward to the restaurants. The food is so good in Chicago.
You're always into wherever we go.
It makes travel interesting to sample the local fare.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a great cook yourself, so you like that food
Out
stuff.
of opinion.
So Common Sense is asking.
Common Sense is back.
Common Sense. I don't think Common Sense is back, but
I think
in general, but yeah.
I think that person comes to each of our meetings.
Yeah, that's true. I was making a more generalized.
Well, I would recommend for senior heart health or for juvenile heart health, reishi. Reishi really is the best mushroom for the heart. Cordyceps would be the second best mushroom. The two together wouldn't hurt either. But yeah, I would look at reishi. as that. And it comes in capsules. It comes in a powder. It's pretty bitter. I'd probably start with the capsules and maybe open them up and see if your dog would accept them. Some dogs will accept the capsules, and
Yeah, hope that helps.
mhm.
Next question. Will this session be? Yeah, all of our Facebook Lives are recorded. So right after this ends, I think it ends up in on our Facebook page, and then correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, but you can find these on YouTube, on the Real Mushrooms YouTube channel as well. And then we also send it out. If you have bought any pet product from Real Mushrooms before, then you're automatically added to our pet parent newsletter. And we're sending the recordings out every month of the Facebook Live that we did the month before. We just started doing that a few months ago. So you can always find it in the newsletters going forward. Thank you.
Discount.
Yeah. So for anyone listening that came in late, we're offering a discount. The 25% site-wide, so not just on our pet products. Use the code four-legged traveler, and this is going to be till August 31st. So great promo you can take advantage of. And Common Sense has responded. I agree. Common Sense is not back. You are my favorite Real Mushroom team, and Jordan too. Oh, thank you. Will you be at the Dr. Judy October event? Yes. Thank you for answering and all the good information. And you're gonna in the next few months, you're gonna be meeting another member of our team, Britta, who is going to be working the back at some of these events. She's going to be with Doc Rob at the Chicago event, and maybe some other events, and also helping us out with this Facebook Live. So thank you so much, Common Sense. Yeah.
So just to clarify, though, I'm not speaking at the Dr. Judy October event. We will be present. We'll be exhibiting. We'll be around. We'll be hanging out, having fun.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions.
Sure. If there are any.
Do we have any more questions, Jordan? How do I travel with my pets? Do I have any tips I've learned over the years? Well, I shared a few of them in the beginning. I think with Scruffy, who is very anxious to travel. After the first half hour or so, she's fine. After that, she starts shaking and drooling. And I have found that either the Relax Chews with some CBD, some of Rob's Doc Silver Dog CBD kind of squirted on, or Doc Rob's Rehab Helpers have made a big difference with Scruffy. Also, walking her, giving her a nice sniffari before getting in the car to travel, for like half hour, not just tiring her out, but I think just giving her that opportunity to sniff around, especially if it's a new area. Like when we drove 6 days, like she just wants to, we go from one hotel to the other. And, my bad, starting out, I just wanted to get on the road, and I didn't put as much stake into making sure that she had some enrichment before we got in the car. And once I started doing that, it helped a lot. I bring her dog bed with me, and I put it, I have a little seat belt plus a dog bed, and it made a big difference. I actually raised, I put something under the dog bed so she's a little higher and can see out the window. And for whatever reason, for her, it seemed to make a difference to be able to actually see, because she's a little dog. And I think just the movement and the travel and not being able to kind of see the movement was harder on her than actually like seeing scenery going by and stuff like that. I don't know. I know I'm not in her head. I'm just guessing, but those things that I did.
I think they like to look out the window quite a bit.
Yeah.
If you're not traveling too fast, they like to smell it as well. Ollie's very aware of where I am. Yeah.
And she's too small to really see out the window without getting up, but then that would be, you'd be unstable. And I try to roll down the window, and that would even be more, with the wind rushing in. But there was something about bringing the bed up, making sure she was secure and safe, but also putting something under the dog bed so that she could lay there and kind of put her head and see out the window. That also had a big calming effect on her. So those are my tips. So we've got like less than a minute. What is yes, thank you, Jordan. I was looking at that question. One more question, please. What is the best way to give CBD to my senior pup?
There's studies in 4 different species: humans, rats, dogs, and horses. That when you give CBD mixed with some fatty food before a meal, you'll get maybe 4 to 8 times better blood levels that way, and it's easier as well. Now, fatty food for a senior pup, the quintessential fatty food would be canned cat food, but butter, cream cheese, milk, cream, peanut butter, things like that, hamburger are all ways to do it. It's easy, and it's the best way to do it. And I generally recommend twice a day administration, and to give them it with the food before you feed them.
Oh, love that suggestion. And I'll just add a quick suggestion. It's not related to CBD, but we were talking about Boswellia earlier for joint pain. Same thing with Boswellia. If it's mixed with a fat or an oil, it gives it a sustained release effect in the body. So if you give a Boswellia, you always want to either give it with food or something fatty like fish oil or something like that. It will keep it in the system for longer. So there you go.
Yeah, and those are supplements that are very, very fatty themselves, and so they have absorption problems. And so by giving them with food, the body thinks that it's fatty food, and so absorbs it more readily.
Interesting. Interesting. Awesome. So wow, that was a quick hour. Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions and also for saying such nice things tonight. We really appreciate the positive feedback. Jordan, you want to post that promo code one last time? What is it? 4-legged traveler, I think, to get 25% off. Site-wide until August 31st. Yeah, there you go. Four-legged traveler. So until next month, this has been a pleasure. And
we love you guys too.
We love you guys too. Yeah. Thanks again. Bye.